Your primary focus ought to be on, revising those those drafts of Angels in America. I found this. I don't know if you saw it. Um, Hang on a second here. Can everybody see that? You see this? So I found a link to the Angels of America PFD. So I know individually I've been talking to a lot of you guys about trying to work in some more quotations, maybe use more of the text of the play to kind of expand on your drafts. And this is a PDF. Really, it's a free PDF of the actual book we were using. So, like if I wrote page numbers and stuff on your draft, the page numbers should correspond to what's on the PDF. What I want to do today is, again, we're not going to know until, I guess, April 3rd what the new exam's going to look like. It's 45 minutes. There's no multiple choice, which is good for us, actually. I don't think the multiple choice are a terrific assessment of your ability to write an argumentative essay. But the problem is we've got, there's 3 very different essays on the exam. There's the synthesis essay, which we really haven't looked at. There's the rhetorical analysis essay, which you guys did as part of the semester diagnostic exam. And then there's the straight up argumentative essay. My concern, I don't know this at all, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know how they would choose one of those essays over the others. And I'm really, given that it's 45 minutes, but they can't do this. I'm kind of worried that they'll have you write like 3 opening paragraphs, 1 for each essay or something. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. They're still figuring out how they're going to score these things, because obviously they can't bring, 1,200 teachers together in a convention center and do the scoring. So what I want to do today is I'm going to look at, I've got this posting here, which 6th period's already started posting to, which is great. Let me pull this up. You can all see this? My internet's been kind of funky today. Mm-hmm. Hang on here. Okay. Just a sec, see if this loads. So the argumentative essay. Today we'll be considering the following prompt to question 3. Who knows what will actually be asked? But here's the steps I want to take today. We only have to meet in this large group. We're going to go into this thing called breakout rooms. I think you'll like those. We'll see how that works. But so after a brief group discussion of the prompt below, after we look at it together, we're going to move into breakout rooms in which small groups can discuss this prompt amongst yourselves. I'm going to break you guys up into groups of 3 and 4. You'll have your own Zoom room. Once you've exhausted the possibilities of this prompt, you can leave your breakout room and start writing. I'd like each of you to work on an opening paragraph, one in which you introduce this idea of disobedience. We'll see this in a moment. Weigh in on Wilde's view, and then in a clear thesis statement, advance your own opinion relative to whether or not disobedience is a valuable human trait. So I want you guys, basically, this is all you've got to do between now, in addition to working on those of you who haven't finished revising your drafts. In addition to working on your drafts, I just want you guys to write 1 paragraph, an opening paragraph that introduces the topic, maybe defines some key terms, narrows it down to a solid thesis statement, and then just list, in kind of a bullet list, 3 examples you might use were in your body of your essay, excuse me, to go ahead and develop this. After you refine your opening paragraph and list your supporting examples. By the way, apt, Natalie asked me what the heck apt meant. Apt means appropriate. It's just a short way of saying appropriate. Go ahead and post these paragraphs on the discussion blog on Schoology. You might also read and comment on other students' paragraphs, so this is not required. And this is Thursday because this was for 6th period. So for us, it'll be, today's Wednesday, right? So we won't meet again until Monday. So Monday, what we'll do is I'll pull up some actual scored essays, and we'll take a look at the rubric, maybe spend some time in small groups, sort of scoring each other's paragraphs. And then so you'll post it. Let me I'm gonna go back. So if you guys, I would recommend taking some time with this, thinking about it, maybe actually composing your paragraphs in a separate document rather than just type it onto the discussion blog. But then if you go into this argument of essay posting, just click on that. You'll get a little text box, and you can paste your paragraph into that. And again, we'll take a look at I'll look at your paragraphs between now and Monday, and then we'll all look at them together along with some full essays that have already been scored in response to this prompt. So let's go back to this. Does that make sense? Any questions? No, yeah. You guys are as bad as my science fiction class. Total drips. Hang on here. So the prompt is, here's the prompt. In 1891, Irish author Oscar Wilde, 1854 to 1900, observed, quote, disobedience in the eyes of anyone who has read history is man's original virtue. It is through disobedience that progress has been made, through disobedience and through rebellion. Wilde claims that disobedience is a valuable human trait and that it promotes social progress. Write an essay that argues your position on the extent to which, and that's kind of key, Wilde's claims are valid. Use appropriate examples from your reading, experience, or observation to support your argument. This is pretty typical of question 3. They oftentimes will give you some little quote by somebody, and then they'll ask you to kind of weigh in on, do you think disobedience is a good thing or is it a bad thing? Ordinarily, if you were writing an essay for class, I'd want you guys to, kind of embrace complexity, embrace nuance, and say, hey, there's some instances where, disobedience, if you just kind of reject received knowledge, you can make advances in science. In other ways, there's also, disobedience that's terrible, like people at Garanos gathering together playing guitars when they, the COVID-19 would be a good example. But in this case, on question 3, generally speaking, you're going to be better off arguing, and it doesn't matter if you argue that disobedience is great or disobedience is terrible. You're better off taking a firm stand on one side or the other. So that thesis statement is going to say, although rebellion, is at times necessary, for example, in the case of oppressive governments, nonetheless, disobedience as a trait, as an action, is ultimately detrimental to society. Nowhere is this more clearly seen than in the current COVID-19 crisis. So I want you to have a paragraph that's like 6-7 lines that funnels down to a sharp thesis statement. One of the things you might want to do is define key terms. You need to tell your reader how you're interpreting disobedience. Is disobedience rebellion? Is it resistance? Is it kind of Emersonian nonconformity? Or is disobedience just being a punk? Think of disobedience in the classroom. Think of disobedience on the freeways. Yeah, I'll drive 80 in the wrong lane, So spend some time thinking about this. Think too about Oscar Wilde. I don't know if you guys remember when we were reading when we were looking at rhetorical devices and reading the Eloquence, The Elegance of Eloquence, that Mark Forsyth book. He quoted Wilde a lot. And Wilde, it's hard for me because I know Oscar Wilde as somebody who's super flip, super sarcastic. This is a playwright who in one of his plays, it was The Importance of Being Earnest, as one character asks the other, do you smoke? And the other character says, yes. And the first character says, well, that's good. I think every man should have an occupation. And so Wilde is kind of known for being flip, for not wanting to be taken seriously. If you look at, whoops, can you see this or not?
Mm-hmm.
You can? A sampling of Oscar Wilde.
Well, we still see the
okay, here,
prompt.
Here, let me do this. Hey, Wiley, you're here. Excellent. Here's a sampling, just a quick sampling of some of Oscar Wilde's more famous aphorisms. Whenever people agree with me, I always feel I must be wrong. Or, education is an admirable thing. It's well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. Or, experience is simply the names that we give our mistakes. Or I like this one. The only thing to do with good advice is pass it on. It's never been used to oneself. Or an idea, this is kind of like the prompt, an idea that is not dangerous is unworthy of being called an idea at all. Or I like this one, true friends stab you in the front. Or I have the simplest tastes. I'm always satisfied with the best. Or this is odd, man is least himself when he talks at his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth. And finally, the only way, this is his most famous one, the only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. I can resist everything but temptation. So hang on here. So what I want you guys to do is I'm going to break you guys into small groups. And I want you to spend at least 5 or 10 minutes talking about this prompt. And if you want to spend the next 20 minutes just chatting, that's fine. The way this works is, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 14 of you. So I'll do 3 groups. Well, there's Jonas. Okay. So in a minute, I'm going to set this up. You're going to get a little message saying, move into break room. And I'll come check in with you guys. But essentially, the only expectation for today is one of you can share that prompt on your screen, and the other 2 or 3 of you can just kind of talk about how you'd approach this. How would you define disobedience for your purposes? What are some specific examples that you might use, not in the opening paragraph, but in the body of your essay to develop this defense, of this support of the idea that disobedience is a human virtue, or to argue against the fact it's a virtue, that in fact it's a vice. So spend some time doing that. Then you guys can leave the break room whenever. I'll leave this open because I'm going to meet with some students about, I guess actually there's a 6th period kids who are logging in about their Angels of America essay. But yeah, so spend some time, and then we will, hopefully by Friday, if you can, or you can do it today, you can use the rest of this period, but don't just dash it off. Do something pretty good, or at least as good as you can make it. Go ahead and post that on the Argumentative Essay Discussion blog. I'll read and comment on those, and we'll take a look at those on Monday. So let's see how this breakout room thing, I think, is actually kind of nice. Instead of having everybody on the screen, you just have a few people. We do 3 rooms. You'll be randomly assigned. Here we go. So, well, what do you think? Is 1, 2, 3, 5 people too much in a room? Would you rather have smaller rooms, or is 5 okay?
5's good.
Okay. So here's the open. So what you're going to do is, once you get an invitation to go into the breakout room, go for it. Okay. And I'll be here, and I'll just come around and check on you guys and join different rooms. There you go. Gone, gone, gone. Hey, Tommy's here. Hey, there's Henry. Excellent. Okay. Some people showed up. Okay. So Henry, just are you, I'm going to add you to a room. Hang on. All right, Henry, go join a room.